Yes, Drak, how would you like me to introduce you?
Drak, I've never been asked this, honestly. Just Drak.
How have you never been asked this? You've been on so many fucking
it's
shows.
always been like, here's Drak, he's a TTRPG performer, blah, blah, blah. I've never been asked how I want to be introduced.
Wow. People, do better. That's what I'm saying. treat Drak better, okay? Ask Drak how they want to be introduced.
Hello, gamers! This is Games and Feelings, an advice show about playing games, being human, and dealing with the fact that those games will involve other humans. I am your host and question keeper, Eric Silver, and my walk-on music when I come up to bat or when I'm walking into the wrestling ring would be Dear Maria, Count Me In by All Time Low. But there is a cover of that by Sunrise Skater Kids that's in Japanese, and it makes it sound like it's an anime opening title sequence, which is absolutely fucking incredible.
Whoa, okay. That sounds so baller.
It's really good. The link is in the episode description. Y'all gotta pause the episode, listen to it, and then come back.
Okay.
Please come back. Please come back.
Please come back. But
Perpetual guest Jasper Cartwright, what is your walk-on music?
professional guest. I love it so much. My music is going to have to be Thunderstruck by AC/DC, because if I needed to compete in something, in anything, there is no song which gets me more hyped than that tune. So I would probably say that, just for the fact that I would be better at whatever I was about to do having just heard that song.
And I assume, much like AC/DC, you're going to come out wearing a schoolboy uniform?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, little hat. Like, what? I don't. Who even wears those hats anymore? You know what I mean?
Just schoolboys.
But do they though? But do they? That's my question. Do they?
I don't know. That's fair.
I don't think they do.
Right. And not perpetual guest Drak. Drak, what is your walk-on music?
Oh, I think my walk-on music would be Uptown Funk.
Sure.
Nice.
Just something to get the whole crowd singing along. It'll definitely be wrestling. I'm not much of a baseball player. Alban not much of a wrestler either, but I think I'll do a better job at that than baseball.
That's very smooth. I think that you're introducing yourself to everyone, that like, hello, I am the Uptown Funk here, and I'm going to do it to you.
Yeah.
And there's, you got to let them know.
I'm letting everyone know beforehand so they can't blame me for what happens next, you know?
Yeah.
I walked in wearing all velvet. I'm playing the song. You should know what's going to happen. Whatever it is, it's going to be smooth.
Easy stuff.
More wrestlers need to walk in with like velvet sweatpants, hoodie. Absolutely. No shirt, Bruno Mars hair. Absolutely perfect.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
We have tabletop RPG actual play performer, producer, and writer Drak on the show. Hello, Drak.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, finally, I told Jasper, you know, so many cool friends. Bring them on, please. And
I did.
Jasper was like, I got it.
You did say that, and I was like, okay. And Drak was my first person, and came through. Immediately responded, was like, yes. And I was like, that's why you messaged Drak first, because Drak gets it.
And I'm also terminally online, so I will.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, you're just always your camera is always on, your mic is always ready. Like it's just like usually like a hey, give me 2 minutes, I'm just nipping to the loo, but then I'll be good.
Hey, I'm washing the dishes. Give me like 2 seconds, I'll be there. You mean now? Like, just Jasper's like, no, we got time. Like, no, I can do it right now, Jasper. Right now.
I can go right now. I can go right now.
We asked Drak 5 minutes ago. This is the most incredible thing I've ever seen.
We haven't actually even asked Drak yet. Drak's that prepared. Drak is just turned up and knew we were going to ask. That's how professional Drak is.
It's a multiverse situation. I think it's unfair that you can access the multiverse to create content. I think that's really irresponsible.
That would be, oh man, such a dream. Because then I could just hop over to a universe where I'm not creating content and just like be there for an hour, and it would be so nice.
Yeah.
And so like unstressful. And then I could come back fully recharged, having not lost any time.
Wouldn't it be so like... I don't know what it would be, but wouldn't it be awful if you such a multiverse and in every universe you were just content creating constantly. Like you could not find one where you weren't a content creator.
Oh,
Like you were
just
destined.
everyone you skip through. It's just like, no, why?
I love the idea, even the one where you're like a warlord, like you're like a space warlord in the future. And Jasper's like, hold on, I got to coordinate time zones to make sure I got to record my actual play podcast.
Hey,
Hold on.
If you're a warlord, you're going to have to make time to make propaganda sometime. And that's content creation, really.
There we go.
This explains all the autocratic information that's been coming out from Critical Role lately. Matt Mercer is taking control. He's cutting out like a state-sized chunk of the United States. It's like, yeah, I'm the warlord now. I'm sorry, I just am.
That's it. That's
a DM. That stands for Democratic Master? Question mark. I guess. Incredible. Well, before we get into the advice questions, we got to talk about the games that are giving us feelings, where all of us talk about one game that we've been playing. It doesn't need to have come out recently. It doesn't need to be a video game or a tabletop RPG. It can be anything that we've been playing that is giving us feelings. Just talk about the game that you like, and also make sure to add an adjective like you're on LiveJournal to really make sure that people know the feeling that you have. Drak, as our guest, would you like to go first?
Yeah. I've recently started playing God of War Ragnarok, the second God of War game.
Nice.
Obviously not including the original.
Did you get that sweet trial? That sweet 3-hour trial? That's what I did.
I haven't cried in a long time until I played that game.
Yo,
wow.
Like
okay.
emotional. Like Kratos is like my favorite archetype, I guess. I realized I have a thing for like gruff dads who are suffering enough for their
gruff
kid.
daddy vibes. Yeah.
That let's not read into it. It probably has nothing to do with my childhood.
Let's leave that there. We won't investigate it any further.
But like this is one quote Kratos says. I think what really hits was that beforehand, Kratos would always tell Atreus to close his heart to the suffering, that we need to concentrate, don't worry about the suffering, we need to fight. And then in Ragnarok, at some point, he switches it and tells Atreus to open your heart to their suffering. And that broke me down while I was playing it. I had to like put my controller down. It's like, give me like an hour. I'll be good in an hour.
I need to breathe.
Yeah, I just need to breathe.
I've forgotten how to breathe.
It hit so hard because I've always been a fan of, like I said, like the gruff parent softening up, but then doing it for their child. I think that's the manliest thing a man can do, is to be soft for other people and for their kids. And seeing this character go from the stereotypical manly to the, in my opinion, true manly, was just a whole experience, just a whole thing. So definitely God of War Ragnarok has been the one that's making me feel the most feelings. Every so often I remember the quote and be like, oh, okay, it's just 5 minutes this time, that's good, but I'm still need to like let a few tears out real quick.
I'm glad you're feeling that way. I felt like the rebooted Dad of War series felt like a little bit on the nose sometimes, because it's like, oh, we get it. And this happens in video games all the times. Like the guys who were making video games, who are now running AAA studios, were like, oh, we're 20-somethings, we're early 30-somethings, women, Lara Croft's boobs, violence, blah, blah, blah. And then like, wow, I had a daughter or a son, and now I have feelings. Yeah. So it feels really on the nose for this. But I'm glad you were affected, like that someone was actually doing something, even if it feels a little rote. I'm glad that they got something that was effective for you.
Yeah, no, I definitely think like it's the reason why I'm able to call it an archetype, because it is one. Like this is not the only media that does this. Like even The Last of Us is a really good example of that, where it's a little bit more down to earth to the zombie apocalypse, but down to earth, I guess, in comparison. Even like The Last of Us does that. I just think for me in particular, it does hit hard. Again, for reasons that we're not going to unpack here, we're going to leave that box shut. But I don't know. I think God of War did it in a way that I found more intriguing, because I'm just a big fan of gods in general, so that was already a hook for me. And then having them, in my opinion, sneak in the growth of a parent caught me off guard in a good way.
Nice. I think you should consider starting a side podcast though called Gruff Daddy Issues with Drak. I think that would be. I know you said you were gonna unpack it, but I think you should make a whole podcast.
I should
just
make
about
it
unpacking
content. Yeah, I should make content.
You should make that into content. Turn your therapy into content. That's what you should do.
Yeah, Drak's not going to unpack it here because he's saving it for his podcast.
I'm saving it for the
content.
Patreons.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That's very good. I have a game that is giving me feelings. Oh, sorry. Let me ask, Drak. Would you say that the adjective that you're feeling is just emotional?
Yeah, I think just emotional.
Fair.
Emotional.
All right, I have a game that's giving me feelings, and that game is Sonic Frontiers, the new 3D Sonic game.
Oh, it happened. It happened. Good.
And the feeling I'm having is wonder. Honestly.
Ooh.
Now, I had spent a lot of time, obviously, watching the build up and then eventual kind of sort of letdown of Sonic Frontiers. It's by far the best 3D Sonic game because we're not really counting the GameCube era of Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. That feels like it kind of exists on its own plane. But just by being competent, it's actually very, very good. So I've been playing it. I bought it on Switch. I got it on sale because I'm just like, I just want to play this. I should just play this. And the thing that is giving me wonder, because there are so many issues with it, for sure. But the thing that's giving me wonder is I think Sonic Frontiers might be one of the best open world games I've ever played.
Whoa.
Really?
Not because of all the other shit. Like if we're just talking about what the open world genre is supposed to do, especially in the glut of it, where every AAA game now needs to be an open world game and just like tons of icons everywhere and just struggling to figure out where you're going, how you wish you had fast travel. You don't have fast travel. You got to walk all these places. Sonic Frontiers, I think, is actually achieving it in the way that like I was wowed by doing this for Elden Ring and getting on the horse for the first time.
Yeah.
The thing about open world games is that you run around and you find things and you do them on your way to doing the main quest. You know what's fun? Running around as the fastest hedgehog ever.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I think this really unlocks when you get your first speed boost, which does take a little while. There's a lot of currency bullshit happening, which is like the loop of the game is kind of sluggish. But like once you get your speed boost and once you really get acquainted with the boost button, which makes you do like a forward strafe, and then you go and then you run fast. Once you get acquainted with that, and then you start jumping on all the rails and doing all the combos that they've set up for you, like it's a jungle gym. Once you start really getting through it, and then when you get to the end of like a rail combo, there's like a token of some sort, which actually does move the story forward. The way that it actually fits in the loop is weird. And like you need tokens to talk to important characters that open up stages, that gives you gears, that open the Chaos Emeralds. That's stupid. I don't like that. But running around as Sonic the Hedgehog and jumping and bouncing off of stuff, and then you get something at the end, especially when you hit your ring cap, and then you can do a super boost, which makes you even faster when you use boost. Honestly, it's the best traversal in an open world game that I've played since Skyrim, and maybe it's a totally different relationship to running around the world than with Elden.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Wow. I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
When you said Sonic Frontier, I did not see that coming.
It's just this one thing, and I think it also, as I said before this, like when you think about all the other open world games that are like required, I think a really good one to think about is like what is that? The Assassin's Creed one, the Viking one,
Valhalla?
Yeah, Valhalla, and then all of the expansions to Valhalla. How it's just like, yeah, run around, do this. It's right here. Go look over here, look over there, look over there. It's just too much, and every single RPG needs to be open world, and I don't think that they need to, honestly. But like this actually needed to be open world because the one thing you have to do in a Sonic game is much like the Dixie Chicks, or the Chicks as they're called now, says. Sonic needs wide open spaces.
Yeah.
Space for him to make mistakes. And that's what we were finally given. And I really, really like it.
That's so interesting. I think that's the first good thing I've heard of Sonic Frontiers. It is every time I've heard about it, it's always been about how much of a letdown it was. But I think that does make sense because at least for me, whenever I've had open world, it has always been like traveling is kind of the boring part. So
Exactly.
being Sonic, just the essence of being Sonic and having these obstacles and basically, like I said, a jungle gym around built for you. I see why that would solve that issue.
Yeah. I don't think this is a spoiler, but in like the fourth world, I don't think this is a spoiler, so I'm happy to share with this because I also the people who are going to play Sonic Frontiers either are or are not. So, but in the fourth world, the whole thing is about going up towers, and I think you get really penalized when you miss something and you fall really far. But like honestly, the movement feels really good, and they're doing it in different ways. Like you're running in a 3D way, you're running in a 2D horizontal plane sometimes, and then sometimes you're going 2D vertically, and it feels really good. And I think that it's the first open world to actually make movement feel really good. And I hope that people see it and maybe like experience it on sale for a good thing. And I hope that the Sonic team grabs that and runs with it and like kind of does away with all of the other bullshit stuff that holds down Sonic games, the ridiculous story, the characters, the loop. As I said, there's like 5 different currencies. You can break the game just by fishing. It's really confusing, but at least the running around feels good, and I'm happy for them.
I'm curious. Do you think if they followed a similar structure for like a Flash game, like The Flash, do you think it would work? Or do you think it's like a very Sonic specific kind of thing?
I think it'd work for a Flash game. I think there's something about Sonic that like it endears themselves to jumping and to rails that I don't know necessarily if the Flash would be into.
This is actually reminding me of is Infamous. I don't know if you guys played that. It was like one of the launch games, I think, for PS3. Like genuinely, what was so good about that game? That game was like fine, but the traversal mechanics were baller. The fact that you could jump on an actual railway and like basically just like use the rail lines because you had electricity running through you, and you could just skate along the rail lines, or you could kind of like do this kind of flying, kind of hover thing. You could use big jumps, like the traversal mechanics.
I think I'm remembering the game we're talking about now.
Yeah. It's like the traversal mechanics in that game made it worth playing, and it's exactly the same way I feel about Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man games on PlayStation. Yeah. It's like those games honestly could serve me complete garbage in terms of the storyline. I don't even remember what happened in either of those games that I played, Spider-Man or Miles Morales. But tell you what, I love them games. I love them because the traversal mechanics just rule so hard, and there is nothing more fun than swinging through New York and being like, I am Spider-Man. And I should imagine it's the same with Sonic Frontier, where you're like, I am Sonic. That's actually, Sonic. It's weird how the traveling is the thing that makes you feel the most, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like in touch with the character you're playing. It's like the fact that you can replace this mundane thing that you have to do called walking with something awesome, like swinging or speed running or whatever. Like, great. Love it.
Yeah. Jasper, you make a really good point. I would say you'd have to look at it like Spider-Man does. But I think taking that kind of same vibe, especially, this is a game that's giving me the disappointed feeling. I was starting to get a little excited about Suicide Squad, the shooter that was going to come out from the people who make the Arkham series. But like, it seems like it's just Destiny, which is boring. So it's the issue that I think we're seeing is that like these trends of 2018, the loot box shooter, being then having to be carried 5 years ahead because of how long it takes to build a AAA game. Yeah. That's the issue. Is like maybe if they examined a Flash game and looked at Sonic and be like, oh, I really like what's happening. What if we fused what we liked about Sonic Frontiers with what we liked about Spider-Man? Maybe we'll get something much closer to what a Flash game could feel like. So Drak, it's a very interesting point.
Do you want my game? My game, very quickly, I haven't been playing a lot of games recently because life. The game I've been playing is life, and I think I've been failing because the emotion it's giving me is stress. But I have actually been playing a lot of Civ 6.
Hell yeah, dude.
Because it is a game which I can play whilst I'm tucked up in bed and my mind won't switch off. And I'm like, cool, let's start a new Civ. Domination victory only. Let's go. So I guess the emotion that is giving me is a release of some sort, a expulsion of just like, I can't sleep and I'm annoyed. I've got all this work that I've got going around my head, but I'm way too tired to do that. But I'm not too tired to build Greece's specialist Hippolyte unit and march straight into this city-state and wreck its house, because that is something I can do at 1 a.m. when I can't sleep. So yeah, Civ 6. Thank you for distracting me.
I respect that. Jasper, can you figure out a way to fit Civilization 6 into your vows? Have you figured that out yet?
Yeah, it's already... actually, my vows is mostly just about Civilization 6 and my love for that game. So it's going to be a little... I think it would be uncomfortable did Jade not also love Civilization 6 as well.
Sure.
It's probably Jade's favorite game. Like, we play it a lot together. So, like... That's another reason why I like Civ. It's because we can play it together and we'll sit on the sofa binge watching a TV show and just handing each other the mouse backwards and forwards on our respective turns. And we usually name ourselves something stupid, like on the TV show that we're watching. So
that's awesome. That's cute, bud.
Little insight into my life there. That wasn't planned, but like I said, life's coming at me hard, so it's nice to remember the good things.
That's fair. In my vows to Amanda, I did say, much like using a polymerization card in Yu-Gi-Oh!, we are better as the sum of our parts. So I'm with you. I'm here with you.
No.
That's incredible.
Oh,
I don't know if I could get away with that, but I would love I say I'd love to try, but actually it's not worth it. So I'm just going to say cute things and not have it be D&D related at all. Because if it were... That's fair. Let me tell you, woof, I wouldn't be on Games and Feelings the week after, put it that way.
It's true. Amanda did get me back by intentionally starting her vows with Webster's Dictionary defines marriage as, and I'm like, you motherfucker.
Yeah. That's why you're perfect for each other. That right there is why you're perfect for each other.
It was wild. Hey, it's Eric, and I picked up some snacks for Games and Feelings. I got chicken fingers in the shape of dinosaurs. Rawr, they go raw. Quick programming note, instead of Whiffapatacide next week, we are doing our live show. I was just at PAX East with the lovely team from Join the Party, and I got to do a live show of Games and Feelings with Jenna Stieber and Merritt K. It was so funny, and I really want to share it with all of you. I think you're really going to like it next week. Everything else is the same. We're going to do the same cadence, except Whiffapatacide, we're replacing for the live show, and then we're going to go back into advice questions as well. Also, Jasper is going to get married and go on a wonderful honeymoon whirlwind tour, and then into the United States. So he might not be on for a few episodes, but we're going to kind of sort that all out. So appreciate Jasper while he's here, but he's not going anywhere. He's just taking a break for his wedding. If you want me to spend more time with Jasper, which I know I would love to spend more time with Jasper, I think you should be a part of the Patreon at patreon.com/gamesandfeelings. If we get 100 patrons, I'm going to go to Jasper's house in the United Kingdom and bother him. Someone said recently that when they were envisioning this, they were envisioning me going, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you. And I think that's really funny, so I would love to do that and record that for at least a few minutes for you and put it on the Patreon at patreon.com/gamesandfeelings. And shout out to producer level patrons, Polly Burridge, Kelsey Duffy, and Megan Moon, who would make a perfect 3D Sonic game if they were trying, but they're working on other projects right now, and Sonic hasn't reached out to them, so they don't have time. If you want to hear your name read out loud, and if you want to be a part of this super secret Patreon club where you get your questions mandatorily read because you're super secret and important, I think you should join patreon.com/gamesandfeelings. You should also check out the other shows that are part of the Multitude Podcast Collective. You might like Tell Me About It. Tell Me About It is a madcap game show about proving that the things you like are interesting and fun. It's hosted by me, Eric Silver, you've heard of me, and Adel Rafai from Hello from the Magic Tavern and Hey Riddle Riddle. Adel plays an eccentric billionaire who has created a terrible, wonderful game show so that people can prove that their favorite things are actually better than his favorite things, which is the movie Grease. In every episode, someone comes on and plays a bunch of games and challenges, and we all have a lot of fun. We have 4 episodes out. I hope you really enjoy it. It's been really wonderful. Moya has been on recently, and we had Janet Varney on as our second episode. So if you like all that stuff, I think you'll like Tell Me About It. We are sponsored this week by Hero Forge. Hero Forge offers fully customizable tabletop minis with dozens of fantasy species and thousands of parts to choose from. Their easy-to-use design tool lets you build the perfect miniature online using a fully 3D in-depth character creator right at your web browser. I have so much fun messing around, especially with their new coloring tool, and they get really deep. I would love to read you just the colors of the eyes that they have. This is just the eye coloring colors. So first we have ones for common. They have blue, brown, gray, green, blue dilated, brown dilated, gray dilated, green dilated, and then blue contracted, brown contracted, gray contracted, and green contracted. But then there's more for different types of eyes. There are 3 different colors for canine eyes, 4 different colors for bird eyes, 6 colors for uncommon, which is a void teller, which is kind of like a spirally pupil, black, red, purple, yellow, and aqua. Then we have draconic eyes. It's 4 colors for that. 3 colors of feline eyes, 3 colors of bovine eyes, 3 colors of rodent eyes, 4 colors of weird aquatic eyes, and 4 colors of lizard eyes. I want to shout out the green one, which is for frogs, which has a horizontal pupil instead of the different ones, the 3 gecko colors of orange, blue, and red, which have vertical pupils, which look really fucking cool. Visit HeroForge.com to check this out for yourself and start designing your custom miniatures today. Check back often. New content is added every week, sometimes based off of what you tweet at them. For example, they just released Nightmare and Unicorn, like full forms that you can design however you want. I think you'll like it. And now, back to the games. All right, folks, you want to get into some questions?
I would love to get into some questions. We haven't done any in weeks because we keep getting sidetracked on our solo episode.
Wait, really?
Well, now that Drak's here, we can finally get into the villa and answer some questions.
No.
Villa.
Incredible.
We say villa. I've never.
I know. It's that when there's like Essex folks on or like some very specific type of accents, they said villa really hard.
I'm from Essex.
Oh, okay. So I don't know what neighborhood or accent it is.
Yeah.
And like I also don't know if it's
It's a street over from you, Drak. It's a street over from you. It's not like
it probably.
if that's why.
Honestly, it probably is.
I try so hard to make this a UK friendly podcast. I'm
not actually offended. I find it very funny. But
I don't know what the neighborhood is. I don't know if it's like a Spanish person who's also knows English. I really don't know. But I know for a fact on the seasons of Love Island UK I was watching, a bunch of people called it villa. So I just don't know what it is. I'm telling you.
Questions. Let's go before we get into any more villa chat.
Go. Okay, questions. All right, this is a great question from Taking a Dive, ? Pronounced she, her. I work in childcare with children from 5 to 12. Lately, there have been discussion amongst my coworkers about whether and how much we should let the children win when we play board games and card games with them. Should we be taking dives? And if so, when should we?
Never.
I agree, never.
Never.
As a kid who learned to play chess from my older cousin, she never let me win.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Because you'd still suck at chess now if they had, right?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty good at chess. I'm definitely no like expert, but I'm actually pretty good at chess now. And it felt good finally beating her because I'm like, okay, I know she was actually trying.
And I think that's actually, Drak, you've hit on it there. I think you rob these kids of the genuine joy of games, like any kind of actual competitive game, right? Where you're actually trying to win against other people, is like the thrill of actually winning, right? If you let them win, they're not going to get that same thrill or buzz. They're going to be like, I kind of feel like you're doing this on purpose. Because let me tell you, that kid's going to go home to their dad or whatever, and their dad's not going to let them win. Like, their dad's going to beat them. They're going to be like, hey, Dad, I'm really good at Scrabble. They're going to play, and this kid's out here writing fart, and their dad's writing these 8-letter words. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's going to be no mercy.
Farcical? I fucking nailed you, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, you idiot. And it's a triple letter. Let's go. Like... but the miss from kindergarten said I was really good at this. No, you're not. You suck, and you got to learn the hard way. So, listen, I think we just got to be honest with kids.
Yeah, but I do think there's a way to win with kids.
Wait, you're saying that they suck and they're terrible at this is not the way to do it? Is that...
Get dunked on, Timmy! Get fucking dunked on!
It's the way your mother doesn't love you.
This is why you'll always be a disappointment to us. Woo!
That's why you get sent here during the day, not because your mom needs to work, but she knows you suck at games.
She's at home playing games with people that she likes, which isn't you. Wow.
No, I do think, for kids, I don't think you should let them win, but if you do win, still encourage them. Even for kids, just leaving it at, oh, you lost and leaving is a bit hard for a kid, especially like what they said, 5 to 12. So I still think encourage them afterwards is really important, but I don't think letting them win is the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to like drill down a little bit because it's interesting you said Scrabble, Jasper, because that Scrabble is a game that's like 95% skill. There is no reason why y'all should be playing Scrabble here, because I think that's what opens you up to needing to take a dive. No. You're right. I think you're right. I think that it also has to do with the games you end up that adults play with kids in this situation. I have a good example to me is Mancala, right? Is that like that is a game that's like 50-50 skill and chance just from the rolls you get or whatever. So I think it might be worthwhile to what you said, Drak, is like don't let them win, but they will win out of your control. If you're playing Uno, a lot of that is luck is just as much. So it's like maybe try to play games where it would be feasible for them to win, even if you're trying your hardest. I think would be a good way to set this up instead of like, I don't know, video game. I don't know if they have video games at this childcare place, but that certainly makes it a little bit more difficult unless you're playing Mario Party. But still, that is skill based on some level. Let me push back and let me devil advocate on behalf of this childcare worker. What if you beat a kid in a game and you say, well, hey, Timmy, great job. You did a really good job. And then they scream and cry and throw things immediately afterwards. That is what I feel like is like, I'm worried that this is going to make my job harder is just based off of a card game.
Okay, yeah, so fair enough. I'm going to say your job as a kindergarten teacher might not be to teach them, like, basic manners. Like, if they're flying off the handle this much, like, that's a conversation that needs to happen at home. You know what I mean? Like, y'all need to chill out. So maybe in that instance, it's like, if it makes your life easier, fine. But at the same time, they also do need to learn to lose. So I'd be tempted to, like, win the game and then just be like, oh, look at that, my shift's over, bye. Because, like, it's important that they learn to lose.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to add much more work to your job because chances are they're going to be screaming and crying for other reasons anyway. This is just like one extra thing that you probably do maybe once a week. I don't know. I think this is a chance to teach them that screaming and crying, throwing a tantrum isn't the way to go when it comes to losing.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I do agree, like, most of it should be on the parents, but if it's happening at the place they're learning, then you might as well teach them as well. And hopefully it isn't too much effort, but I still don't think, even in that case, I still don't think losing on purpose is the way to go. Because I think it'll just, if you keep doing it, it will just cause, they'll just throw tantrums somewhere else, really. Like, I
want to throw out one last thing on this topic, though, which is that also don't do the other. Don't cheat against kids, because let me tell you, they know. Don't. I know, okay? I had a uncle-in-law once who we played Monopoly with, and he played it with us, me and a bunch of my cousins who were younger, and he cheated multiple times. We could see this brother just taking money out of the bank. It was right there, and we would just looking at him like, I was like 8 or whatever. I was like, what's happening here? Why are we, I can see this, sir. I'm not yet integrated fully into society, but I know that you just take stuff that's bad. So can we, so don't do that. Because that, I was pissed about that. Like 8-year-old Jasper was pissed about the fact that I lost a game because he was clearly cheating. I was not.
I think that actually might be worse.
Yeah, 100%.
I think cheating would be worse than just beating them fairly. Especially if they find out, either it will result in them just being very upset with you, maybe to the point of just making more trouble with you, or to make them a cheater, which you really don't want because it's going to keep the cycle going for whoever else they play with.
Yeah.
Also, you sure do lose any sort of standing with this child going forward, right?
Yeah.
Like, imagine you,
For sure.
I don't know if, or like you're trying to get them to line up, or you're trying to get them to be quiet, being like, yeah, well, you took all the money in Monopoly, so I don't have to listen to anything you have to say.
It's true. As
Yeah,
kids will
like-
take any opportunity to be like, you are wrong because you did this one bad thing. I'll never trust you
Yep.
again.
Well, that's exactly it. If you let the kid become the paragon of morality in your relationship, you're screwed. You know what I mean? If they're the ones holding society together because they actually have morals and you don't, yikes. You know what I'm saying? I would not want to give a kid that much power over me. Terrifying.
Are you saying it's bad you can't just like go up to a 10-year-old and be like, actually, I'm doing a renegade run, so I'm going to do whatever you want, but you can be Paragon, that's fine.
I don't know if that kid understands a reference. Honestly, they're probably a pretty good kid. I think they're good. I think they don't need anything else.
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing here if you played all of Mass Effect. I don't know what you're supposed to. I don't know.
I think that's a teacher, really.
It's like, you're the teacher now. Go ahead. What do you do, Shepard? What do you do? Okay. Hey, Drak, do you have kids?
No.
Okay, three dudes with no kids. Do whatever, man.
I have younger sisters, if that counts.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, that
I'm
counts.
joking. Well, hopefully you found that helpful. Let's do something that we really care about instead. Let's tell someone if they need to continue to run their PC at the end of a satisfying moment in their Dungeons and Dragons game. I got a question here from Conflicted Cleric, pronouns he, him. I am a knowledge domain cleric. And I assume they're playing Dungeons and Dragons, that is obsessed with learning and giving praise and spreading the word of my deity by sharing said knowledge. Our party is on a quest to get a relic from a dragon. We are currently at a literal magic university with libraries of rare books and knowledge. As much as I love my character and want to continue the quest, I feel like this setting is where they would end their journey. Because they're literally a cleric teacher. How do I go about resolving this internal conflict?
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Drak, you go ahead. I need a second, I think.
I actually might need a second as well, because I don't think I've ever come across this.
Okay, well, I'll jump in with something then, in which case. I genuinely think this is something that needs to happen more often. Like, we need to, like, normalize your character getting to a point where they just happy. Because there are a few scenarios whereby, like, if your character's whole mission has been, like, getting their family back, and they get their family back, unless the world is in an existential crisis, like, will end if I specifically do not go. If my motivation is getting my family back, I am ending my adventures as soon as I get my family back. Like, that's the end of the road for my character. And also, like, that's the satisfying end to the road.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to then get killed by a gelatinous ooze. You know what I mean? I don't, like, for just, like, no reason at all other than the DM felt like putting a little tricky combat in there. So, like, I think absolutely you should feel well within your rights, because not only that, but like, narratively, it's probably one of the most satisfying ways that you can end is giving your character exactly what they've always wanted. And then if you didn't like that, or you found that unsatisfying for you as a person playing that PC, then maybe you roll up a new character and you don't give them an easy to achieve goal. You know what I mean? You set them up with, like, I want to grow a billion trees. You'll probably be in this campaign for a while if that's your end game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think the reason why I haven't come across this is because I usually don't give my characters easily achievable goals. So I have reason to keep going. Whereas the goal of just, like, spreading knowledge, and, like, now being confronted with a thing that is literally for that, say, magical library, I think it makes sense for you to just have your character story end there. The cool thing about that is that you can create a new character and keep going with this new character. And if at any point your party needs to learn something, you could just go back to the library and it'll just be a cool thing, like, or like just see how your character's doing, see what your GM thinks would have transpired while your new character and the party have gone adventuring. And I think that'd just be like a cool thing. And an easy way to be like, I now have a contact. Us as a party have a contact in this important place now.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to throw out one last thing before I toss over to you, Eric, is franchises. That, like, you could, if you wanted to continue your character in this instance, maybe what you want to do is spread this knowledge to everyone. So you want to franchise this magical library to other places. You want to set up a sort of chain, if you will, of magical libraries that have a interconnected sharing system, perhaps a Fey database of some description.
A library branch.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think maybe if you want to be a bit finicky in there, maybe that could be their reason for carrying on with the party, is that they're going to go and every new town they rock up to, they're going to go with a little pamphlet and be like, hey, do you want to be a part of this ever-growing library concept? It's this great thing, and you can get in on the top floor or whatever, bottom floor.
You can be your own boss.
Yeah, exactly. Business speak it, pyramid schemes, run the whole gamut. You know what I mean?
So don't be an adventurer, sell encyclopedias instead?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Throw out all of your adventuring gear and just store magical encyclopedias, which you can sell to people at a price. But the thing is, they can then sell it to their friends for slightly more money. It's perfect. It's a perfect system.
And it goes up the upstream, which is good for you.
Upstream. That's what we want. And then you're a knowledge domain cleric with tons of money.
Nice, great.
And then you could be hustle domain cleric. You know what I'm saying? You could be a hustle domain cleric.
I think that this is a wonderful opportunity to figure out what happens next.
I thought you were going to say buy encyclopedias.
Buy. All right. New Patreon goal, Games and Feelings. Everyone buy encyclopedias from Jasper and I, and you can be part of our upstream.
Can we make this a new tier, please? Just like a $1 tier where you can get an encyclopedia, and it'll just be me sending you a video of me saying different words. It's the online encyclopedia.
We'll start doing that. That sounds great.
Perfect.
I think this is a wonderful opportunity to figure out some fun shit that is going to go on in your campaign. Let me just throw out the hooks that I've been thinking about since I read this question a little while ago. You talk to your DM, right? You can spend some time at the library to see what's going on in the inner workings, to see if you want to work there. You can, and then you decide, I do want to stay here, and your whole party needs to reckon with your character leaving. Or you're like, actually, this isn't what I'm looking for. This is not part of my deity's path for me. I'm looking for something else, and maybe that ends up pivoting a little bit. Or maybe you did find what it is you're looking for, and your deity is mad at you that you care more about the problems of men in a better way to say it than the divine pursuit of knowledge in general, and writing it down in a book is not good. And then maybe you have to change your class. Or maybe you lose all of your magic because of it. Maybe you end up leaving your character. And Jasper, when you said franchise, I thought you were going to say when Cyborg was going to run Teen Titans North, then maybe you leave your character there and then they start doing some other stuff. And then maybe you, 10 sessions from now, you go back to your original character and all the other people play different people and you go do a different sort of adventure at the same time.
Yeah. That stuff's always fun.
That's fun.
Also, the thing that Drak said, now you have a contact, which is incredible, especially if you're going out there and doing it.
Super useful.
All of this stuff is awesome, and I think that you're looking at this if you're viewing this like an internal conflict with yourself about whether or not you want to let go of your player, that's fine.
Yes.
But if in terms of this ruining your story, I think you're fine. I really think that you're fine, and just talk to your GM about this and work something out that you think is cool.
Yeah, for sure. But just do whatever feels truest to you and your character. I think to the extent the DM might have something really cool planned, but at the same time, if something feels particularly right for your character to do, I think you should, petition with your DM to be I really would like to do this, because I think that that's the only way that you actually get to a satisfying place. If you're talking about ending a character, it's the one time where I will usually give free rein for my PCs to talk to me about world building and stuff, because I'm very keen that when it comes to them talking about their character and having ownership over their character, that I want them I don't want to take that away from them by killing them in a way that's really unsatisfying, or shipping their character off in a really unsatisfying way for them, because hey, look, you made this thing. I'd be annoyed if you just took the world away from me or fundamentally changed it in some way that I as the GM wasn't happy about, so why would I do it the other way around?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also, if you do end up having them stay at the library, you can just have them come back. Like, this isn't like a death. This is just them deciding to stay there. You could have them, you could bring up a new character, play them for a bit and realize, I kind of miss my cleric. And talk to your GM and be like, hey, can my cleric come back? We can discuss why they may have come back. Maybe, like you said, the deity was like, hey, you need to do more than just read and write. You need to actually prophesy and tell people by word of mouth this knowledge. And so you can still find a reason to bring it back. So I think trial and error, like just trialing it out isn't a bad thing.
Yeah. And like if you, especially if you don't connect with your new PC, like that's the beauty of not playing a game that's recorded. Do whatever you want. Like no one is going to call you on anything. You're just doing it for fun. 100%. Yeah. I think that's totally fair. Resolve your internal conflict, but do cool shit with this opportunity. That's where we came down on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Do cool shit with opportunity. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Jasper, we still have a little bit more of the episode to record, but Jasper has found his internal stopping point of this episode. So he's going to go to the library and stop.
I'm going to go to the library, but thanks for having me. I need to go and research some stuff about I think called a pyramid scheme. I've just heard about it. Apparently I'm in one, and I need to rectify the situation quite quickly.
Look at MLM as well. Might be useful.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll check that out as well. I'll do a bit of research on that in the library.
Yeah. Hey, Drak, will you still stay for one more question?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Cool. All right, Jasper, guys, go sell my encyclopedias.
I'm gonna go sell you some encyclopedias. Bye.
Bye. All right, Drak. Don't worry. I stuck Jasper with all the J encyclopedias, so we get the good letters. All right, I have one last question. This is from Lost in Ravenloft, she, her. These are going to have some spoilers for Curse of Strahd, but I think even if you do want to play Curse of Strahd, it is worth it for you to listen to what we're talking about here because, you're hit in the question. So Lost in Ravenloft, this is her first campaign of D&D ever. I joined a group of friends who are starting Curse of Strahd. Those it's one of the most famous modules from Dungeons & Dragons, which is kind of set in like a spooky, scary area with Strahd, who's like Dracula, pretty much. I was completely new to the game, and there was no session 0. Ugh. As we played, the more it felt to me like this is a very misogynistic and ableist campaign, and I even ended up losing my temper when introduced to the flesh golem. I've expressed my concern, thanked them for having me, but excused myself from the game, as I feel like the treatments of the female NPCs are too triggering for me, but I got the feeling from the rest of the party that I was exaggerating, with even someone saying it was the best module ever. Am I reading too much into the plotline of Strahd? Should I have stuck with it to wait for a story to pay off? My gut says no, but what the group said had me second-guessing myself. Thank you so much for any advice you can give. The first thing I want to say, because I don't want to put this on Drak to immediately answer the question and say this as our guest, is like, first of all, if you don't like something, don't do it, right? Like, I want to say, we're not going to which I could, I guess, and Drak, I'm sure you're familiar with this as well. We could litigate of whether or not Curse of Strahd is problematic, but it's true. It's not worth it. The point is, if you are uncomfortable, you should leave. Yeah, and I think that's a fair thing that I want to lay down first and foremost.
I 100% agree with that. In my opinion, no D&D is better than bad D&D.
Oh, true, that's absolutely true.
No, like, and honestly, I think. I don't want to judge your friends, but in my opinion, if my friends made me feel like I was over-exaggerating or didn't take into consideration how I felt about the game, I wouldn't want to play with them regardless of whether or not I was overreacting, because a lot of this stuff is fixable, I think. From what I can remember, because it's been a while since I played Curse of Strahd, from what I can remember, none of those actually important story beats are like reliant on the ableism or on the misogyny. They can easily be changed while still keeping the general story that I'm assuming your fellow players want. So the fact that they're not willing to fix and change things, even just a little bit for you, I think is not worth playing, because it's just gonna, honestly, it would probably sour your taste for D&D in general, especially if this is your first game or campaign. I would rather save, for lack of a better term, rather say my first time for it to be a game that I'm actually a game that I actually enjoy, and the people involved actually care about how I'm feeling when it comes to what's happening in said game.
100%.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to give, I 100% agree. Let's give these people the benefit of the doubt in that, like, they obviously bought this book and ran a module because there are reasons why people run modules. You and I are professional creative people, especially in the tabletop RPG space. People buy modules because they don't have time, or they're not like creative, but they still want to play D&D. I think that the Dungeons and Dragons does a very good job of bridging the gap between no creativity and playing the game out of any other tabletop RPG that I've seen. Like, you don't need to have improv skills immediately to play the game.
Yeah.
So maybe these people feel like that the book is unimpeachable because it's in a published hardcover book. You got to do what it says. Especially even if it's just flavor stuff, because when you play Curse of Strahd, you're in Barovia, which is, again, a spooky, scary area with a lot of horror elements that are uncritically kind of just dropped into the space. So, like, again, I totally agree with all the stuff that you're saying, Question Asker, but I think that it might feel harder than like, oh, well, it got published. I can't change any of it. And I feel like even if you're playing a module, someone needs to have their brain turned on, especially the DM, to be like, hey, let's change this for what we have going. Like, if you said this to me about a game that I was homebrewing, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry you felt this way. And it just feels harder when that, like, a company approved this and you used money to buy a hardcover for it. Maybe these people feel a little more rigid, which is like a problem with, you know, capitalism and just like believing companies when they say stuff. Yeah. Which is a much more thorny issue than just like your friends disagreeing, which that guy who said that this was the best module ever can fuck off. Like, that sucks.
I don't agree with that. I mean, obviously everyone has their own opinion, but I don't think it's the best module ever. And I think especially if someone tells you that they're uncomfortable with it, for you to retort, this is the best module ever, is kind of a dick move in my opinion.
Such a dick move.
But if they're stuck with, if they want to do Curse of Strahd, I quickly looked this up because I remember seeing this, but I couldn't remember the name of it. There is a module, is by indie publisher. I believe their name is Beth the Bard, and they have a Curse of Strahd like edition you can play on top of Curse of Strahd that helps replace a bunch of NPCs and make it a little less misogynistic at the very least. I don't know how well it does with the ableism. I haven't been able to play it myself, but I've seen some people play it. Called She is the Ancient, and it's basically a gender-bent Curse of Strahd, and they pull out a lot of the very misogynistic bits and pieces from it. I recommend checking that out. At the very least, maybe suggesting that to your GM if they still really want to do a Curse of Strahd campaign. And maybe hopefully that will be enough to bridge the like differences that all of you seem to want in your games. But at the end of the day, if they say no and they won't change anything, no D&D is better than bad D&D.
For sure. How do you feel about modules? Have you ever used one before?
Yeah, I played in one. I played in a Ram the Frostmaiden module, and that was a lot of fun. I think modules can be really fun. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I think they're just as like fertile for creativity as going homebrew. Because I definitely see a lot of people seem to hold homebrew higher than modules or vice versa. Honestly, a lot of the games I played modules in, I wouldn't have really been able to tell the difference between a module and a homebrew. Because I think the biggest thing with, at least for the GMs I played with, is that they were flexible to just change things on the fly for it to fit whatever character we were playing or whatever setting or genre or tone we were trying to play at. I think I agree with you. Wizards of the Coast, D&D does a really good job at bridging that gap, making it possible to be like, I don't have time to make 13 countries, 12 different ancestries of my own. I'm gonna pick this up and play it and run it for my friends. And I think if you're just trying to get into GMing or trying to get friends into just playing, I think modules are probably the best way to go.
For sure. I feel just frustrated a little bit on this person's behalf.
Yeah.
They're like, they wanted to play this game and then they got thrown into something that they didn't like. And like, I think leaning on a module is hard sometimes because you end up doing almost everything that you are going to do in the module, like that's the expectation that you need to have every single thing defined before you get into your game.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you just start small and then by session 50, you'll know what's going on in your world, right?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I think that modules kind of reinforce the idea that like DMs and GMs are like magic. And then that all that does is force the same person to be the GM or the DM.
That's a good point.
All the time, so that no one wants to step into it. So it seems scary. And I just don't understand it. So I think that like, if you can get to a situation, and maybe you just need to find someone else to play with, if these are like, first of all, don't go back to these people. But if you end up going to someone, you need, like, everyone needs to have their brains turned on. And I think the module tells them that they don't. And maybe and I've never played in a module game before, because usually everyone who's doing it, like, no, I'm excited to come up with some stuff.
Yeah.
And really, the only thing separating a module DM and a homebrewed DM is like the ideation process, right? Like, you gotta still run these people and come up with their voices and thread the story together. But like a book is, all the book does is give you the 5,000-foot view, when if you just want to focus on your small town, you can, and maybe that will scare you from doing it. So like, I don't know. I understand why people use modules, but I think it is also an excuse to like create forever DMs and make sure everyone's like, no, I don't want to think about anything when I'm playing this game. Which is like, then go play video games, my guy. Like, that's why they exist. Yeah. That's why board games exist, is like, you don't need to think about anything.
Yeah, no, I do think there is like a difference. Because, for example, the games where I played a module in, the GM had run homebrew games before. So they really had the mindset of, this is just a like floor plan. I can zoom into whatever I want, and I feel comfortable zooming into that section and fleshing it out myself. I don't know, for people who don't have improv skills, because at the end of the day, improv is pretty hard. Like, it doesn't always come naturally to everybody. And I think taking it baby steps is always helpful. And I think having a module helps with that. Because at the very least, the module gives you like prompts. It tells you like, this NPC is grumpy. Okay, cool. I know, like, I can play a stereotypical grumpy character and play this out. And then like from there, maybe just start to take their own steps. Because at the end of the day, the module is there, but the players are not in the module. The players do the wildest things. So regardless, you're going to be made to improv on the spot. And I think the module just gives you enough of a support that you can be like, okay, I'm going to only have to improv what the players do, not necessarily what characters they might come up against every single time.
For sure.
Only maybe 50% of the time, which I think is always helpful.
Yeah. I know that we ended up diverting a little bit and like giving advice to these people who don't give a shit. Like, I'm sorry. But like, yeah, you're very valid.
Yeah.
You're very, very valid. Lost in Ravenloft, and I hope you end up finding a new group. And yeah, if you know, this will encourage you to find a game that's exciting, or maybe you'll end up just throwing yourself into GMing yourself. Listen, they're also, as Drak said, if this is your first time, maybe you need to wait for the right group.
Yeah.
And in the time being, feel free to play one-shots or one-page RPGs or more rules-light RPGs, just so that you can get your like role-playing fix in as you figure out if there is a campaign waiting for you.
Yeah.
For your one special moment. All right. Wonderful. Drak, thank you so much for coming. You were Jasper's friend, and then he left, and then Jasper just left you alone with me. But I'm so glad that you were here. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. You know, it was great. It was fun getting to talk about all this stuff.
Of course. Listen, you never get a chance to talk about all the different types of games at the same time. That's our promise here at Games and Feelings. All the different type of game and one encyclopedia free. With every download.
You get another one for half the price.
Yeah, we'll ship you 2. We'll ship you 4. Just give us 4 payments of $9.95. Drak, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Drakoniques. That's DRAKONIQUES. I stream on a bunch of different channels and stuff like that. So follow me on Twitter is honestly the best way to find out where I am at any given moment and what projects I'm working on, because I have quite a few I'm working on that I can't speak about, but we'll soon tweet about.
Ooh, that sounds fun. As always, you can find me on the social medias at L_Silvero, EL_SILVERO. My name, if I was a Lucha Libre wrestler. You can follow the show Games and Feelings on Twitter and Games and Feelings on Instagram. You know, we didn't have enough characters on Twitter. Elon Musk wouldn't let me have it. It was the worst. And that's the one bad thing about him. Everything else is fine.
Oh,
obviously.
Totally. Yeah.
He's totally good in every other way. Just the character limit.
We have been sarcastic. Please just be.
We are so sarcastic. Yes,
sarcastic.
we're being very sarcastic. Remember, keep sending in questions. You can send questions on the website, or you can check out the link in the episode description. If you are a $10 patron or above, you get to use the special patron question portal where you get preferred access for questions. People are still sending in questions. These are great. A lot of these are new, but we could always use more, especially if you want to send in sports questions, where Jasper and I do a sports-only Games and Feelings.
Ooh.
Well, Drak, thank you again. Thank you so much for answering questions here. And remember, the instruction guide doesn't have anything about feelings. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Games and Feelings is produced by Eric Silver and edited and mixed by Mischa Stanton. The theme music is Return to French Toast Castle by Jeff Bryce, and the art was created by Jessica Boyd. Find transcripts for this episode and all episodes at our website, gamesandfeelings.com. Until next time, press X to enjoy the podcast.